Hi everyone, this is Mel Stevens. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you are all well. Today's video, as you will have seen by the title, is the application process of getting a guide dog. This video has been requested by Judi from Gipsland, Victoria, Australia. So thank you for your request, Judi. Now this is going to be two parts to this particular video. I'm going to do the first video talking about the application, assessment and waiting period / processes, and then in my second video I'm going to talk about the matching, training and follow-up processes. I'm going to be doing this a little bit specific to my organisation, which was Guide Dogs Victoria. I have only had one dog myself. I'm still on my first dog, Darcy, and so I've only really had one experience personally with the application process, and it was 5.5 years ago. So things may have changed a little bit, but this is the most accurate information I can give you, judged on my knowledge and experience. So I'm going to also apologise for the weird dorky two headphones in ears look. I've got the big set of headphones is my computer, so that you don't hear my computer talking while I'm trying to record, and the set of Apple headphones is connected into my note-taking device where I've got all my notes. So sorry about the two headphones look. Alright, so we're going to start off by talking about the decision-making process about deciding whether you want a guide dog. And there's a few questions that you need to ask yourself, and things that you need to think about before you even contact the guide dog organisation. So the questions that you may need to answer in your own mind or write down can include: have I got the emotional maturity to handle having a guide dog? Having a guide dog, contrary to popular belief, is not a walk in the park. It can be hard, it can be stressful, it is physically demanding, and it can be emotionally demanding as well. And if you don't have the emotional maturity to deal with it, it's really not a good idea. So you need to know whether you are emotionally mature enough to handle, well, first of all, what happens if you get rejected? You need to know that you're not going to completely lose your marbles if they decide that for some reason or other you're not suitable for guide dog mobility. You need to know that you can handle stress. And as I said, there is a lot of stress, especially in the first 6 to 12 months of the relationship with your dog, because you don't know each other, you're getting to know each other, you're going to be spending 24/7 with that dog, and you need to know that you can handle anything that dog throws at you, because they are another living creature. They have their own personalities, likes, dislikes, behaviour traits, everything like that, and you need to know that you can handle any crap that they throw at you, be that both physically and emotionally. You also need to know whether you can handle situations such as what happens if you get to a certain point in your training and something goes wrong and you have to give that particular dog up. It never happened to me, but I know a few people who have had their dogs, they've either been sent home from training for some reason, or they've given their dogs back not long after they've gone home from training, or they've had to give their dogs up for some other kind of reason. So you need to know whether you can handle that. You also need to know whether you've got the emotional maturity to handle in the future in your relationship what happens if the dog suddenly, worst case scenario, was to die of some kind of health problem. If the dog suddenly decided that they wanted to, that for some reason or other they were going to retire early, things like that. Because it is a big commitment, guys. It's, you know, a guide dog can work for between 8 and 10 years. So, and sometimes even longer than that. So it's a huge time commitment, you know. And unlike a long cane, when you get home, you can't just fold it up and throw it in the cupboard. You've still got to be able to face it, even when it's not in harness. So you really need to know whether you've got the emotional maturity to handle all of that stuff. You also need to think about finances. Like all other animals, guide dogs cost money to run. If you're on the National Disability Insurance Scheme, or NDIS, you actually can get funding for your dog. So you can get, sorry, I'm rubbing my nose, I've got a slight bit of a cold. You can get, funding for your off your NDIS package for your dog's food, for his vet bills, for things like that to help you run your dog. But if you can't get funding through NDIS, you need to know that you personally have enough finances to look after that dog. You need to know whether you can feed it, groom it, take it to the vet, buy it toys, give it bedding, and other things like that. So I give my dog $130 worth of food every 10 weeks. I pay about $100 of pet insurance a month. I pay about $40 every 8 weeks for him to have a bath. I, buy him toys occasionally. I buy him, I have to buy him heart guard and flea treatments and worming treatments, and that's every sort of 1 to 3 months as well. So you need to know whether you can financially support a guide dog. Then you need to think about your home environment and your family situation to know whether they are appropriate to having a guide dog. Sorry about the movement, I'm just plugging in my note taker. So having a guide dog is, it's moving into your house. So you need to know that your home environment is going to be safe for the dog and that your family are going to be able to cope with the dog. So you need to think about, do you have a backyard for the dog to go to the toilet and run around and stuff like that? You need to think about, do you have, if you do have a backyard, is it fully fenced, or are there holes in the fence where the dog can escape or something like that? You need to think about any other pets that you may have. Do you have another dog or a cat or anything like that? And if so, what may the possible reactions be from those animals towards having a new dog come into the family? And then you need to think about the humans in your household. You need to think about, do you have children? Is it something that you think that your children can handle, especially if it's your first dog? You need to think about whether what your partner how your partner would handle having a dog. And you need to think about whether any of your family are allergic to dogs. You then need to consider whether your daily routine is conducive to having a dog. So if you are a homebody and you sit at home from Monday to Sunday, and all you do is get in the taxi, go to church, and come home again on Sunday, then maybe not having a guide dog is for you. But if you get out, go to work, go to university, go to wherever, then maybe having a guide dog is okay for you. Dogs, like all animals, need exercise. They need stimulation. So really sitting at home 6 out of 7 days isn't really appropriate for a guide dog. Unless it's a really lazy one, which most of them aren't, because you've also got to remember, they are usually somewhere between 18 months and 2 years old when you get them. So they are quite young when you first get them. The next question is, have you got good enough orientation and mobility skills to get a guide dog? So can you cross roads independently? Can you find your way from home to the shops, for example? Can you use your long cane in a safe and controlled manner? Do you have a family member who takes you everywhere you go? Because if you have a family member who takes you everywhere you go on side a guide and you don't use a cane, having a guide dog probably isn't really going to work for you. But if your orientation and mobility skills are reasonably good and you're confident and comfortable with going out independently, then it's probably going to be alright for having a guide dog. Then you probably also need to think about your work environment. Similar thing to your home environment. Is there somewhere for the dog to go to the toilet? If you work in a 55-floor office building in the centre of Sydney, for example, is there somewhere really close to your work where, during your breaks you can take the dog to relieve itself? So, is there a grassy area around your work? What is the environment where you work like? Is there enough room at your office desk to place a mat for your dog to lie down? Is the dog going to get in the way? What are the opinions of your colleagues and employer of having a dog come into the office? So you need to think about those things. When you've finally considered all of those things and you think you've come out with more positive answers than negative ones, it's time to start thinking about the application process for your guide dog. So you contact the agency through whom you receive orientation and mobility, or O&M. Most, if not all, orientation and mobility organisations, especially here in Australia, do supply guide dogs as well. So Guide Dogs Victoria, Vision Australia, guide dogs in other states and territories in Australia, they all supply orientation, mobility and guide dogs. So you need to contact your guide dog mobility organisation and get in touch with the guide dog mobility team and say, hey, I'm looking at getting a guide dog. Is it possible to start the assessment and application process? So during the application process, you also need to make sure that your NDIS plan is set up for you to get a new dog. So you need to contact your local area coordinator, your plan manager, whomever, to get a possible reassessment of your plan to make sure that the money for a dog is in that plan, because if the money for that dog isn't in your plan, I'm pretty sure you can't get a dog. So you need to make sure that you've got the NDIS funding to get a new dog. So when you're in contact with the GDMI or Guide Dog Mobility Instructor, you'll arrange a date and a time for the assessment, and you'll also have to make sure that you have, at the time when I got my dog, it was 3 routes that you know how to get around, walk from home to the train station, walk from home to the supermarket, walk from home to the gym. 3 very good examples. And you need to make sure that you have those routes down pat, that you know exactly every little thing about those routes, because those routes will be a key part of your assessment. And when you have planned with the GDMI to see them, you need to just practice your routes and make sure that all your skills are there ready to go when they have the assessment. So when the day of the assessment arrives, the instructor will come in, introduce themselves, and you'll go on your walk or walks, depending on how the instructor wants to manage it. Every instructor manages an assessment slightly differently. When I did my assessment, I only had to do 1 route, I think it was. And I also showed them how I moved around my school, because I was actually still at school at that time. So my guide dog instructor got me to show him the routes, and he assessed my cane skills, how confident I was, how well I managed to cross roads, how fast or slow I walked, all of those things that kind of are a part of independent mobility. And then when you have finished showing your GDMI the routes, they will do paperwork. And it's a lot of paperwork. When I did my assessment, I was still at school. As I said, I was lucky I did my assessment during my free periods, because the periods at my school are 48 minutes long, and the paperwork nearly took me 3/4 of an hour to do. So they will go back over with you your family situation, your work situation, your aims and goals, for example, if you are about to leave school like I was at the time, they'll talk with you what you're expecting to do after you've left school. They'll talk about, as I said, your family environment and situation and living arrangements and all those other things. They'll, if you do your assessment from your home, they will come in. They will have a look through your home to make sure that it is set up safely for a dog. Like I said, there's no holes in the fence and things like that. And then they may also ask you whether you want to do your assessment, your training via domiciliary or at the Guide Dogs organisation's headquarters. Now, domiciliary is at home. I don't know anything about domiciliary training because I didn't do it when I got my dog. And as I said at the start of this video, this is based on my experience when I got my dog. So I don't know very much about domiciliary, unfortunately, so I can't tell you a lot about that. All I do know is it's based from your home, and there's no other clients. It's just you and the instructor from day one, and the dog, of course. And they may also ask you whether you have any preferences about the dog's physical attributes. So, for example, with Guide Dogs Victoria, I was asked whether I wanted a male or female dog, and whether I wanted a black lab or a golden/cream lab. I said that I wanted a black male lab. I got a white male lab, so I kind of got my request half, and I would never change my dog for the fact that he's not black. But you've got to keep in mind too, when you do make those specifications, that it's possible that having stringent specifications will make your waiting time longer. So then the instructor will go away, put all the stuff together from that assessment, and decide whether they're going to accept your application and put you on the waiting list. And they'll inform you when they've made that decision of whether you're on the waiting list or not. So when you are placed on the waiting list, as I said, it can be anything from, you know, a long period of time to a short period of time until you're matched with a dog. I waited for, I think, 6 months, to get my dog. I know some people who have waited for up to 12 months. I know some people who have only waited for a couple of weeks. So it really depends on the specificness of your needs, the dogs that they have available, and other things like that, and how long the waiting list is at the time of your application. It's a really good idea during the waiting list period to practice your routes and keep travelling independently, keep using your long cane skills, everything like that. And if anything changes, anything major changes, lose your job, get a new job, start university, finish university, have a serious injury or illness, anything like that that may impact on your ability to train with a dog, you should let your organisation know as well. So I'm going to wrap this video up there, guys, because I have been going on for a very long time. So I hope you guys liked this description of the application and assessment process of getting a guide dog. Keep an eye out for the next video, which is going to be talking about the matching, training, and follow-up process of your guide dog. So I hope you guys like this video, comment on it, share it, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.